Hello friends, the preparation of the National Plan of Action (NPA) for preventing pollution of the coastal waters from land-based activities. Our government has released in 2011 the CRZ notification, later on certain amendments, and also in 2019 it is updated. So what were the objectives? To develop comprehensive and continuing and adapting programs of action within the framework of integrated coastal area management. So because of land-based activities, how we can prevent the pollution of coastal areas? So that is most important. Again, so that was for identification and assessment of the problems, establishment of the priorities, setting management of the objectives for priority problems, identification and oral evaluation of the and selection of the strategies and measures, criteria for evaluating the effectiveness of strategies and programs, and ultimately program supportive elements. So under different points, under different important parts, I am going to talk today. So our aim is to protect these coastal lands, coastal waters from the land-based activities. So it is very important, as part of first point, the identification and assessment of the problem. Identify the problem. So it is the process of combining different elements, how to identify the problem and assess the problem, that are the identification of nature and severity of problem in relation with food security and poverty alleviation, public health. Then very important point comes as coastal and marine resources and ecosystem health, including biological diversity of that area. Nowadays all conservationists are talking about the protection, preservation, as well as overall conservation of the marine biodiversity, and again economic and social benefits and uses, including the cultural values to that society. So you should know which are the contaminants, which are the problems, and assessment, that issues that may arise and they occur nearby coastal areas. Mainly these are the contaminants. I will say here the heavy metals from the industrial effluents, discharges, sewage. There are persistent organic pollutants. These are the trace elements. Radioactive substances are also released out. There are oil spills, heavy discharge of nutrients like phosphates and nutrients occur in larger quantities into the nearby coastal areas, especially as part of sewage and other effluents. Even though they are treated, I will say sediment mobilization also occurs when due to floods and other natural disasters that cause the sediment to come in nearby coastal lines. Even the other types of wastes. Now, physical alteration that also occurs because of habitat modification, and I will say the damage or destruction or changes in the landscape areas. Then you should know what are the sources of degradation of the coastal lines and the nearby areas. Point sources are the direct discharges, and these may be the discharges to wastewaters, even treated or untreated to some extent, coming out from wastewater treatment facilities. There are power plants, you will find number of installations are there, tourism activities are there, and you will find the construction activities. So especially nearby the coastal structures, ports, harbor lines, okay, that works, urban expansions, developmental activities, and even dams and certain mining activities or crushers, they goes ahead. So coastal mining is one of, especially for sand and gravel, is important part of which cause the sources of pollutants. So even I will say aquacultural activities, habitat modification that goes on, especially that cause huge pressure on wetlands and mangrove activities. Even introduction of other species, that is also the source of point sources of pollution. Now I will tell you about what are the things that cause non-point pollutants, non-point sources to come out into the coastal and nearby areas. So agricultural runoff or horticultural runoff from the horticultural activity is common. Yes, urban runoff is there. The sources of pollutants is very difficult to identify in such type of cases. So they may be common as part of point and non-point, but certain listed in point source of pollution, they may also cause non-point sources, like forestry runoff are there, mining leachates and waste waters that come out and seeps down and go and meet with the coastal marine waters, even runoff from the developmental and other construction activities, the leakage and leachates that come out from the landfills and hazardous the sites, waste sites which are managed, even erosion from the slope areas nearby coastal lines, they also cause the pollution, non-point pollution especially. Again, I will say here the atmospheric deposition is also caused, and they are also one of major reasons for the issues cause the pollution problems. So vehicular emissions are there because of transportation. So thermal power plants or other power plants, even coal-fired, so if they are located nearby coastal areas, industrial expansions are there, industrial units are there, incinerators, and a lot of even agricultural practices. So all developmental activities, they are responsible for the pollutants to come out. Again, I will say here which are the areas of concern that may get affected because of. These are the critical habitats: coral reefs, wetlands, mangroves, marshy places, bogs, lagoons. All these are very important for the as part of future conservation strategies. There are certain endangered species, endemic species, and their habitat may come in threat, under threat. A lot of and number of ecosystem components are there, like spanning grounds, certain nursery areas, the breeding points, so they may get disturbed or altered. There are certain shorelines, specific species which may grow there. Certain watersheds, they are very much important part to provide freshwater sources to the population. Certain estuaries, their drainage basins may change, and the specially protected marine or other the coastal parts of coastal areas, small islands, they may come under threat. So we wish to protect the coastal lines, coastal areas because of the land-based activities. Now, second point I will tell you, we have to establish certain priorities, and that should be established based on decided points, factors. I will tell here that the importance of impacts upon food security, health, protection of marine resources, overall environmental health, benefits to the society, and even economic benefit. We wish to protect the cultural values. So for that purpose, the source categories, the contaminants that come out in various forms, we have to stop. The area which may affect or which is affected must be restored. The cost benefit analysis are the musts, and certain actions we should take. Even if we do not take any action, so what could be the long term cost of such things that should be considered? So for that purpose, we have to develop and implement the national program and action that is related with protection, conservation of these coastal lines. I will say here what these states with different, we have a federal structure, what they should do. Integrated coastal area management approach, that is the most important need, and everywhere it is nowadays. The governments, agencies, administrative stakeholders, experts, local communities, authorities, the relevant social and economic other sectors, they all are aware. NGOs are also working towards it. Men, women, tribal communities, and all other major groups of our society, they are working towards it. They should work devotedly. We should recognize the basic linkages between freshwater and marine water environments. So protect the watersheds which are in coastal lines. We should recognize what are, understand the linkages between sustainable management of the coastal and marine resources. And we always talk about elevation of poverty, and we wish to protect the environment. So for all that purpose, it is necessary. Apply the environment impact assessment procedures. It is now compulsory. Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change is checking, and nowadays conducting such practices very serious. Take into account the need to view such programs as an integrated part of existing or future environmental programs. So we must take the steps to protect the critical habitats. Participation from the people, it is community participation. Their involvement, I will say public participation, is must for the sustainable development. We must go with the issues that they have, solve them and go ahead. Also protect the endangered species. We have to integrate national plan with the needs of the local, as well as fulfill our commitments at global level. Such programs and strategies is the need. So we should carry out regional, international, local, state level, all types of cooperation. It is the need of time. So apply the precautionary approach. So do not, prevention is always better as part of that approach. And not only prevention, we should go for corrective action. And remember this point always, corrective action is very necessary. So the people have traditional knowledge, they know what impacts are occurring, what are the capacities of local administrations, what information they have, what is their commitments at global level, what other countries are ready to help us, support us, technology provision, what is the lack of knowledge, where our experts are not performing well, what are the costs involved, how we can prevent these further marine degradation. All these things must be considered well. Now next point I will talk about is that set out the management objectives. So what in the past, as part of coastal regulation zones to avoid pollution in coastal areas, what we are expecting, what our government is trying to do, implement. So decide such objectives where the areas are affected, or in future because of current action they may get affect. It is necessary part. So yes, there is must decide objectives. What are our future goals? Time frame for that. I will ask the industries that you are not causing pollution. How the pollution and the other issues from agriculture, urban and other sectors will be reduced. So states, they have to take, it is necessary, immediate preventive action. Do you know remedial action? Whatever already damage has caused, restoring action. With the use of present knowledge, certain plans, certain practices should go ahead. Now I will talk about identification and evaluation of certain strategies and measures in such areas to conserve the coastal lines, to protect these coastal areas. It says that combination of specific measures like successful stories that are implemented in other countries, and that example, certain case studies can also be implemented in our areas. So what are sustainable practices? How sustainable resources, marine resources, coastal lines, practices can be carried out there? We want to prevent further degradation of environment, marine environment. Best available technique, best environmental practices you will find somewhere that are implemented in other countries. So we always talk about clean production practices. We talk about efficient use of energy and water. So such things should enhance those who are carrying out certain issues using marine resources, those who are polluting, that units, that operations, that industries must consider such things very seriously. So top management practices must be used. Environmentally sound technologies, I will talk here, efficient technologies must be used. And if required in such areas, such an industry should be shifted in some other areas which are heavily causing pollution, or step by step certain measures can be taken, effective measures can be taken. So again, take some serious steps that certain contaminants will not come out in nearby coastal lines. So strict decisions is also the need. Yeah, these are all types of R: recycle, reuse, recover, regenerate, water conservation practices. Water treatment is must, it is legal, it is part of compliance. Again, the measure to prevent the or completely the stop the degradation, further degradation of environment we have to take. And by that way, overall, when we talk about environment, so physical, biological and chemical alteration should not be there in such areas. So do you know, the most important thing is the land use planning. Proper urban planning nearby coastal areas is urgent need, and that is the purpose of coastal regulation zone notifications, management aspects. So all expertise, proper planning, everything in systematic, disciplined way. Rehabilitation of the degraded, restoration, re-management I will say here, or yeah, that is necessary, that is possible, and it may take long time, but it is the need. Again, certain subsidies should be given to the people who are living in such areas. So special funds, or those who pollute, polluter pays principle should be applied. Industries who are polluting has to pay in that way, or certain taxes can be levied on the those who are generating more pollutants. Yeah, laws are there, compliance, they should be checked in proper manner. Again, if certain things like training or technical requirements are there, then government agencies should able to provide them at nominal cost or at free I will say, because that is going to work a lot in future. Again, I will say here, we have to identify the institutional arrangement, special institutions, expertise, people to conserve, to manage these resources is the need. They will set strategies, they will change these plans as per the need. They will carry out review, they will monitor the issues that are occurring. So identification of short-term and long-term goals and in such areas as part of conservation of marine resources or coastal areas is required. So I will again tell here that monitoring of environmental quality, reporting system, environment management system everywhere, those who those who generate emissions, effluents, sewage, or cause damage to our environment. So as part of another point I will say here, we have to identify who will provide the funds, availability of funding support for overall management and administration, to run the administration, to implement the strategies that are decided, okay, and further programs. So you should again think about what could be the criteria, how we will measure that, are we doing enough, are we going in right way or not? That is the need. For that purpose, whether they meet decided objectives or not, the states have to come out with certain measurement practices, measure the effectiveness of implementation, measure the effectiveness of the funds that are invested there, the people, the energy that is used for the protection measures. So how much money is involved, what are benefits of it, so cost benefit analysis, measurement of sustainability practices, okay, how the benefits are shared to the poor people, because our one of major aim is to support social upliftment, support the poor people who are living in that area. So certain flexible ways should be there as part of the laws also, in order to support people, those who are working positively for the protection of our resources, or overall that society and administration, as part of administration. Again I will say, time bound, there should be a specific time frame, what we are expecting, what we are doing in that coastal areas. Again, so as next part I will say, we expect, because of lot of activities, certain benefit to the environment. So by that way our resources will get conserved, and people overall will enjoy these resources in sustainable manner. They can utilize them for longer time. No one expects pollution of these resources. we must protect, we have to provide these resources as it is in clear form, good form to the future generations. So to support last point program like support elements, that was important point. The long term objectives as part of national level need to develop. I have already talked about that integrated strategies that should address the major impacts on the marine environment, and as part of that, all appropriate ways should be utilized. The industries, those who are working in that area, the institutions, they should cooperate. They should come out by their own. Compliance measures, unique for all, is necessity. Provision of funds, if they require certain training, certain ways, mediator role that government agencies, other private and NGOs, they should play there. Again, I will say here, monitoring data is much need, and that by this will help us to collect information, and further research, need of further research is also there in order to conserve our resources. I will say emergency planning is also another need, and that should be unique, that should be common as a nation. It's part of training, the education to people, awareness among the communities, human resource development, public participation. So all these things are very necessary in order to protect our coastal lines because of the land-based activities. We do not, in certain cases, somewhere heavy pollution, somewhere there is threat, and it is our duty to protect these resources. Certain trace level contaminants are coming out of standard limit. What are the reasons? How can we stop it? Much discussions should be carried out on such things. Otherwise, in future, we may lose them. We may face certain severe issues, not everywhere, but in certain cases. Already, different areas, different regions are facing different problems related with environment. And we should take now proper steps for the benefit of future generations, as current as well as future generations. So it is our duty. It is our duty to go with the sustainable approaches, sustainable practices, long-term planning for that. We must do it. We must carry out it. So with this, I will stop here. That was all about the National Plan of Action to protect the coastal areas because of land-based activities, and which I talked about the important points that we had mentioned in that the suggestions and certain interesting parties who were asked to provide the inputs and come out, and government agencies have later on came out with the coastal regulation zone notifications. So thank you very much. With this, I will stop here. Bye bye.